only going to become more vital as we enter a world of massive changes. Changes in technology, changes in our culture, our communities, changes in climate, just fundamental changes. So I've heard from some people that we are ahead of curve, but I think that we're right on time. So this was an insane week. In the last 7 days, we submitted a grant to California Humanities, did 4 drafts of that. We did our own Halloween event on Friday. We collaborated on another Halloween event the week before. We have this gallery. We have this Springboard Circle event. And I would say that I'm surprised of how much we were able to get done in just a week. But with this team, I really shouldn't be surprised. So, round of applause for everyone here who. I'm happy I'm here. I'm really happy you're here. Everyone showed up. Everyone showed up today. And that's the biggest step, is showing up. Nothing small or large, tiny or monumental has ever happened without first just showing up, taking the first step. And we all showed up today. So thank you for that. This is our first Springboard Circle gathering. So let's dive in and make a splash in this creative community.
Is this your
Transitions, yes. So, a little bit about me. I think most of you know me. But if you don't, here's a quick overview of who I am, what I'm about. So, what inspires me is dynamic and authentic art, creation, nurturing creative environments, community resilience, human flourishing, experimentation, growth, emergent leadership, interactive education, embodied experiences, collaborative, immersive art, regenerative discourses and practices, and regenerative innovation, and technology that supports humans, like this insulin pump that keeps me alive every day. So, an artist's journey, they say, is a combination of their joys and challenges of the experience in their life, and that is definitely true for myself. I grew up with incredibly supportive parents, right over there. I drew a bunch as a kid, and sadly, I got shut down by my peers, and that really affected me, not having a supportive creative community, not having the permission to create, and the spark really faded. Fortunately, I started making music when I was 9 years old, which, growing up with a bunch of serious medical conditions that I still have, that was always a place of grounding and healing and meaning for me. So I moved to Santa Cruz in 2011 and graduated from UCSC in 2015. I studied a bunch of stuff. It was like computer science, game design, computational media, a bunch of stuff. So this is me at the Santa Cruz UCSC Sammy Awards. It's a game design award conference, and this is our team winning the audio and music award for that year, and that was my big contribution to that game. So I'm really stoked about that, and that kind of launched me into that creative direction in my life. After graduating, I worked as a UI engineer for websites, companies, startups here and there, and I moved back to Santa Cruz and realized how hard it was to be creative in Santa Cruz, how hard it was to be an artist in Santa Cruz. If you didn't have the tech money that I was making, how could you live here? How can you be yourself and be creative and just be an artist and still be in Santa Cruz? So this is me at 11th Hour at their art market, building liminal space and trying to gather these communities together, gather the artists together, and provide the opportunity for those artists to make something, to be sustainable, to collaborate. And in that time, in the last few years, so many of my most creative friends and collaborators have left Santa Cruz to try to find a more thriving art community, which is a huge shame. And I've thought of leaving myself, to be honest, a few times. And a few years ago, I decided that I was not going to do that. I was not going to give up on Santa Cruz, and instead I would try to create something that brought us all together. So, there are tons of beautiful, talented, creative, amazing people here. And I knew if they just had a container to be, that beautiful things would happen. So I'm gonna fast forward to 3 years later. This is Liminal Space getting covered by Concept Magazine as one of the up-and-coming art organizations in the Bay Area. So yeah, it's been a wild time. So, history of Liminal Space. Couldn't see each other's faces. We were on our phones all the time. We were on Zoom calls all the time. There was no third places. There had already been hardly any, and now it was illegal to even be in them. There was this huge loss of community. I hardly knew anybody, and through that, I lost my ability to express myself creatively. You know, I didn't feel like I could be seen doing the thing that I cared about. And every community that had already existed before COVID was locked up, couldn't break in. And I came up with the idea of Liminal Space in 2021 with the simple idea of creating art where all mediums could collide, all creatives could collide, and we could build something bigger than ourselves together. The world was changing, and I wanted a space where we could express our humanity, to connect to each other in unique ways, to make something unique, to make sense of life, and to make sense of something beautiful. I was incredibly inspired by local art meet of Santa Cruz, which would happen on the beach at Sunny Cove every Monday. I was inspired by other places like Meow Wolf. I was inspired by Jordan with Idea Fab Labs, and combined the passions, the experiences that I had, and built the foundation of Liminal Space. So, phase 1, 11th hour. January 7th, 2022, we had our first event. This was the foundation. So, somehow it wasn't just my friends and homies and other people I didn't even know. Some kids came. We had more and more events. When kids come to an event, that's a success. It was not, I didn't invite any kids, I promise. They just came on their own. We did really cool media projects. We started doing these micro festivals where each space and artist had the ability to have their own little world, to express their vision, to find ways to collaborate with the spaces next to them and the artists nearby them, and to collaborate together on our shared vision. We started doing events where we would have tons of artists that were coming up with a theme together, where we collaborate. What is the theme? What do we want to say? What is the statement that we want to make as artists? And how do we then make that happen? How do we make it on a flyer? How do we make that flyer then mean something to us? How do we make that then become the event? How do we make people that come to that event understand and feel the thing that we're trying to say? So that takes us to step 2, Circle Church residency. So this was an insane, beautiful trial by fire that started in November 2022. So Circle Church was this 150-year-old property, one of the absolute oldest in Santa Cruz. It was one of the first buildings in Santa Cruz when it was a United States city. And after connecting with the owners who were planning to demolish the building, I explained my mission, and they invited us to transform the space for one final celebration and community activation. So this ended up being an 8-month residency, where every single month we thought it was our last month. And
bring it back.
Yep. Let's go back there. So yeah, it is down now. It is a flat mound. But yeah, back when it was up, when we were there, more than 5 days a week, I was there from 10 a.m. until 2 a.m. There's some awesome things that we did there. We had, awesome festivals. We had awesome events. That's good. So the neighborhood, we had a really interesting relationship with them. It's a 150-year-old building that suddenly is being demolished, and now an art collective is in there transforming it. So I suddenly became the center of a lot of focus, positive and negative. uninstall Nextdoor for mental health reasons. I had a lot of amazing and really intense conversations. Neighbors would come to me with anger and hurt and pain at this place that they've seen since they were a child, that they played in since their grandparents were children. It's insane. And it's a place that we both love. And in those conversations, I would often leave with a new friend or even a collaborator. Made lifelong friends with Pastor Jerry, the pastor that was serving at this church at the time. We never had an unsanctioned tag there for more than 24 hours. I was definitely on the Santa Cruz Planning Department's speed dial. And we had a town hall where we gathered the entire neighborhood and explained to them what we were doing, why, and connected, and provided them the opportunity to speak up. So we did some awesome mural projects. Go back. So let's just pretend there's a mural back there. Mural projects, super, super cool. It's amazing. You can see all the beautiful art here, left and right. So we had local graffiti legends and local teens that were together, collaborating, making art together, not, getting messed with by the cops. And I'll say before we started, there was an opinion in some people in the Circles neighborhood that graffiti was not art. And with a number of those people, by the time that we left, that opinion had changed. So we had a number of festivals, we had an Afrobeats event, that's me, that's Reborn. We had an event pretty much every weekend. Final. So we had an event pretty much every weekend. We started building structures like our website or newsletter. We started building merchandise like this shirt. We started holding art meetups every Monday, which then it was the early stages of Creative Commons, which we have every first and third Monday here. We opened the space up to workshops, networking events, dance and aerial practice, photo shoots, music videos. We met our would-be fiscal sponsor, or to-be fiscal sponsor, Terry of The Children Are Our Future, who was actually a neighbor of the Circles, who was on board with us, and that enabled us to fundraise and get tax-deductible donations. And then we had Impermanence. So Impermanence was our final festival, where we were told, yep, you got 3 weeks or something, do your last thing. So here it was. It was all about impermanence. It was all about our inner child. It was all about creative freedom and knowing that what we're going to create is just going to be knocked down weeks after we finish. And it was beautiful. There was 200 artists. There was 1,200 people that came, and it was a huge success. And after this event, the owners said, "Hey, we postponed." So we suddenly had more time. So we started doing more programming. We started doing these perseverance events, which was our continuation of Impermanence, the opportunity for people who weren't able to go to Impermanence to come on a Friday or a Saturday, and they would get an immersive art tour, and there'd be people, playing characters and art everywhere, and it would be, a way that we could sustainably operate and provide people with the opportunity to experience this beautiful movement that had happened. And so things were pretty wild, but they were building and they were growing, and the future in that space was really bright. And then suddenly we got a 10-day notice. So we had to be out in 10 days, and we got everything out in 10 days. We got everything to storage. I had bought a van, it was a bad idea. And we took it to houses, we took it to storage places, we took it to random other places we could. We took it to some things to IFL. And in the middle of all of that, we still made time to set up an immersive playground at Juneteenth at Linden Nelson. And I think that just goes to show our resilience, that no matter what happens or what is happening, we're still going to make time to do the thing that matters to us. So, photos. Oh yeah, Circle Church. And here it is now, or when it was in progress of being now. That takes us to phase 3. So, collaboration with Idea Fab Labs, aka Jordan. So, we had massively reduced real estate. So it was time to expand our structure. So we had the opportunity to do a really awesome build at the Moz Frequency Festival, their bi-yearly frequency festival. They made the mistake of giving us the entire atrium, so then we used the entire atrium. And they built this awesome, you know, like, I don't know, it was like 15-foot tree, 15-foot tree. It's an interactive experience. It's like rotating icosahedron. We like built these things, which represents our connections to each other. We had a collaborative art or a collaborative music project where there was generative music playing everywhere. That was with a bunch of the volunteers. And then we had another event called the Portal Incident, which was our first big collab with Jordan and IFL, which was amazing. It was interactive game world filled with lore, mini games, characters, and portals. We collaborated with Fern Gully, which was awesome. We did an immersive event in San Francisco at Alchemy Space, which was our first like connection into the Meow Wolf world. And in December 2023, we started our official Liminal Space Collective charter. We started Creative Commons officially, our bi-weekly or second and fourth Monday gathering and incubator. We built a huge mushroom sculpture for the Santa Cruz Mushroom Festival that you saw downstairs when you were walking in. We did the Santa Cruz Cookout with Io, wasn't able to make it sadly, with also the Black Health Matters initiative. And then we did another amazing event with Jordan called Wilder Wilds, which...
No, sorry.
All good. It's a dream world, so you'll just have to dream it up yourself. And you can actually, you don't need to, you see pieces of it in that small room over there. So it was amazing. There was a whole array of wild characters and beautiful art, and it also ended up being our first manifestation of an immersive venue that we're building called Liminal, where people can connect and communicate over shared experiences and art expression. So we collaborated with Using Natural History. We collaborated with the Content Magazine, and that brings us to phase 4, where we are now. We're continuing collaborating with IFL and Trellis, which is associated with Idea Fab Labs. We've now expanded into Cruise.io, which is the space we're in now. Offered us a residency. We have co-working memberships, First Friday events. We had a costume party on Friday, and the Springboard Circle Gathering that is this where we are right now. So, now that we have a solid framework, it's time to level up. So, let's talk about that framework. Mission ethos. What is our mission? Our mission is to build connection and facilitate change through collaborative art, immersive experiences, learning, experimentation, and sustainable innovation. So, how does that mission then turn into our vision? So, our vision is to collaboratively generate immersive art and support our artists, support an artist business platform, a community building container, and a vibrant third place. We provide a space for meaningful connection in an increasingly disconnected world. We expand our understanding of each other, our awareness, and our consciousness through collaboration and creation. We cultivate optimism, existential optimism, activism, and we have formed hundreds of compassionate creative leaders. So, a little bit about our ethos. We have liminal space. We are a liminal space. What does liminal mean? Liminal means it's a state of change, it's a state of transition. Not quite one or the other, but somewhere in between. So that means to us growth to change. We facilitate meaningful change through immersive experiences, dialogues. We embrace impermanence. We think of it as a strength rather than a weakness. We're a safe space. So we support a diversity of expression. We support a diversity of background. We support human flourishing. We support solidarity between each other, micro-solidarities between each one of us, psychology, healing, providing space for grounding and sense-making, a space where you have the permission to create and that you feel safe to be authentic. It's a creative, collaborative space. So we make art. You know, we host workshops. All of our art, all of our projects are collaborative from the get-go. Artists come here and they have the opportunity to have creative agency. You know, so many artists that I've spoken to have been so burned out by doing art for somebody else's vision, making somebody else's vision possible, using their hands, their labor, their skills for somebody else's vision. And Liminal Space is about providing each one of us the opportunity to collaborate on a shared vision and the space for your own individual vision to thrive. So, we're a regenerative space. So we build sustainably, we focus on portraying sustainable futures. We portray the interdependence between communities, cultures, between all of our systems and our natural resources. We try to operate with a game B mentality. If game A got us into this mess, game B is gonna get us out of it. So we have, you know, these solar punk themes of community regenerative systems with, you know, futuristic technology that is there for us, not for something else that is not us. Last, we're a third space. We build community. We provide the opportunity for that community to build identity. We bring everyone together, regardless of how much money they have, to come together and create their own creative scene. So, this ethos has profoundly impacted my life in all the best ways, and I will never be the same, genuinely. And I'm thankful every day for all the amazing people who I'm surrounded by who also live by this ethos. So now I'd like to introduce you to four of my best friends, incredible artists, and also humans who have been enriched by Liminal Space ethos. Put your hands together for Rose Klein.
Taylor.
Chloe Rickens. Notes. Here we go. Hey Rose.
Hey Weston.
So, how has Liminal Space affected your trajectory in Santa Cruz?
Wow, what an amazing and not pre-scripted question. Liminal Space has profoundly changed my trajectory. I came here for grad school. I came here to be at UC Santa Cruz to do a Master's of Fine Arts in Digital Arts and New Media. And I knew that I wanted to stay in California, but I had family back in Los Angeles. When I came here for grad school, I was not planning on staying. That has changed. I'm stuck here. I'm done with my grad program. The people that I met through Liminal Space have become my family, have become my best friends. And I so care about the connections and the collaborative nature of the community that I've found here. It aligns with what I already was investigating, with what I already cared about. I feel as though when we create these sort of collaborative environments, when we give artists agency to do that sort of work, to have everyone come in and have their own vision be part of the community, that is what allows us to, in so many ways, generate change that no one person could have thought of. And, you know, 5 years ago, when I was looking at grad schools, despite going into an MFA program, I did not think of myself as an artist. And that has also changed. I think of myself now as an artist, as a facilitator, as someone who's coming in here who has this amazing family, and I am invested in this community. You know, because of the connections I've made here, I've gone on to participate in a bunch of activist events here. You know, we're trying to make this community better. So yeah, I think it's that sort of vision of Liminal Space that is beautifully consistent with a vision of a better Santa Cruz, that makes me feel like, you know, despite all the other cities I've lived in New York City, I've lived in Los Angeles, I grew up in Milwaukee, you know, and nowhere feels like it has the same creative community as here. Yeah.
Thank you, Rose. It's genuinely awesome to hear how this community has impacted you, because I know how much you have impacted this community and how much you've impacted me. I love you. So, I'm not crying.
Just writing.
Taylor, hi.
Hi.
So, for those of you who do know Taylor, you'll know that she is super busy. She's juggling a bunch of jobs and is always running back and forth to do some party or make some art project or something, and she still makes time for Liminal Space. So, Taylor,
Yes.
what about what we do here makes it a priority to you?
Well, I get a pretty good bartending job. Let me introduce myself. I'm Taylor. I was one of the directors of Liminal Space for about 2 years before you'll see changed the structure of Liminal Space. When I was in college, I studied microbiology, and I thought that was going to be my career path, but I ended up deciding that my ability to connect with the community was a lot more useful in the arts, and I have been doing art for my entire life. So I ended up leaving my career during COVID and pursuing my individual art career, and it was really hard for me because I did get a major in art, but I didn't actually really have a community in art after college. I lost a lot of the people that I was connected to, especially with COVID. You know, a lot of us left or lost a huge part of our community. And when I got a random message from one of my friends saying, hey, they're painting the church, I was like, okay, cool, I guess I'll go by. And I met Weston, and he was all frantic and like, I don't know what's going on, everyone's crazy, there's no organization here, paint this wall. I ended up meeting, like, within a week, maybe like 150 artists. I ended up painting a huge portion of that church and got a couple mural gigs. I sold a bunch of art at the first event that I was involved in, and I really discovered that I could access resources through a community like this. And I noticed that this collective was lacking a lot of coordination, and luckily I was in the event industry and have experience with coordination, so that's how I ended up joining the director position and helping organize these events. And yeah, I think a huge reason why Liminal Space is a priority for me is because of the community connection, the access to resource, how I can come in and say, I want to build something that looks like this. It's huge, I don't know how to do this, but I have an idea, and I have access to like pretty much any resource that I need. And on top of that, I meet artists who also don't have access to resources, and they can come to me and say, hey, I need somebody who has experience with woodworking, somebody who has experience, I need access to a 3D printer. And I can say, oh, I know somebody who has that. So I think for me, that's why Liminal Space is actually a priority, is the fact that I can access resources and help other people access resources as well. And I would say for me, the ability to help people recover from COVID and recover from this really toxic work environment that we have, where we have home and we have work and we don't really have a way to connect to community anymore, being able to give people that community and make friends and have somewhere to go that's not just home, and you know, that's actually like why I do this, and what keeps me doing it is being able to see people connect and also gain a lot of resources through art. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Ooh. That's great to hear that You were fired up when you walked through that door, and it's great to hear that you're
I
even more
was.
fired
I
up.
gave you my business card.
Yep, we did. It's the first business card I have ever received in an art center. And it's great to know that you are even more fired up about Liminal Space after all of these years. And because Taylor has so much time on her hands, she, like she said, took up a leadership role. And I want to introduce you to another leader of Liminal Space, Sonia Campbell. So, Sonia, what about Liminal Space has enabled you to become the creative, the communicator, and the leader that you are today?
So I nominally consider myself a technologist. I am someone who interfaces with complex systems like networks and computers, and enables people who maybe don't have the skills or the experience to interface with those systems. I feel increasingly conflicted about that. I'm only able to do that because I had ample access to computers and time and an internet connection in my adolescence and my young adulthood that allowed me to gain that skill set. I make a living in tech now, and I feel somewhat exploited for that desire to connect with people and have that do that emotional work of teaching people something. Feels that it's often invisibilized in the context of the tech industry. It's not really valued. And in stark contrast, I came into the Liminal Space. I started helping out through Idea Fab Labs. I forged a connection with Weston during the Crystal Note Grove project, and started helping with tech and structure, LEDs, and that sort of stuff. It's a role that I really kind of fell into because I think, to Weston's credit, the organization is largely self-organizing. People fall into roles that play to their strong suits, and that makes for an organization where people really feel both empowered to do the stuff that empowered to have an impact in the organization, and also to not feel like they're being exploited or overworked or burnt out. Liminal Space is my found creative family. The tech industry is often portrayed as diametrically opposed to the arts, and I think that is problematic. I think that creates this I don't think you can have technology without an understanding of art and humanities. I think that creates bad, harmful systems that overwhelmingly damage society. Liminal Space has provided me with the confidence to be a leader in an organization like this, the trust in my friends to ask for help when I need it, and the courage to call myself an artist, which I didn't really have before. As a techie, that I didn't really feel like I had access to that. I felt like I wasn't allowed to be creative, and that's changed in a huge way over the last year.
It's been a genuine honor to watch you grow into the human that you are today, and go from being an awesome creator and a communicator and an artist to an amazing leader. So thank you. Chloe, how has Liminal Space impacted your professional opportunities for art in Santa Cruz?
So I don't think I would have called myself a professional artist until even maybe last month is when I started thinking of myself that way. I've been an artist for quite some time, but I made art for myself, and I do a lot of watercolor and scientific illustration. I would do that to document the flowers I saw on a hike so I could remember that moment. Or I would make a piece to capture some of the emotions that I felt listening to a song. And I didn't create in community until I started going to Creative Commons at Liminal Space. And that space became sort of a creative incubator for me. Also, especially over COVID, I started becoming very invested in immersive and interactive theater, interactive storytelling that is choice driven, that puts you in your own story, where you can interact inside of a world that the actors have built. And I experienced that at Liminal Space, specifically at the Redacted Portal incident at Idea Fab Labs, where there were characters and there was interaction, and it was an amazing, whimsical, and beautiful world that I just randomly went to because I had a friend going. And since then, since I've been creating with Liminal Space, I do call myself a professional artist. I presented my own immersive theater kind of interactive story at Creative Commons because I just wanted to try it. And I'd been a participant in these things for quite some time, but I had not really thought that I could be on the creative side of it until I was given a platform at Liminal Space and was encouraged to just go and try it and see what happens. I ran that story for 4 hours straight on one night and learned so much about pacing, about characters, and timing. And there's so much more that I have to learn from Creative Commons and from these people. And also at that event, I met Ross, who works at the Santa Cruz Museum of Natural History. I brought some watercolors to that event, and he hired me as a watercolor instructor right from that Creative Commons event. I taught my first watercolor class earlier this month and got paid to teach art for the first time. I sold my first... I also put up a piece here in this gallery. It's over there. It's called Silver Spoon, and I sold that piece 2 days ago. I have never sold a piece of my art before until this month. And I'm just amazed at how powerful art can be when it is created within community. I don't think I could do art by myself or for myself ever again now. And it's been incredible to grow within this organization and to watch Liminal Space itself grow. It's been incredible to see just the organizational growth as I've been a part of it. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Chloe. The experience that Chloe made was amazing. If you ever want to come, Creative Commons will probably do it again. We'll send it out on the email list. Don't worry, you can all be a part of it. The experiences and the art that you make are incredible, and I'm so stoked you're part of Liminal Space. And also, I'm really stoked that Liminal Space has springboarded your professional artist career. Cool. So, give another round of applause for everyone. So, Chloe brought up a really good point. Groundwork to achieve our mission. So, let's dive into that. So, we have a charter. We wrote it over basically a full straight whole year, one whole year. And it is written by all of us. It's written by all the collective members. It's agreed to by all of us. It has a built-in evolution system where anybody at any level in the collective can contribute an idea, and then we can all collaborate and deliberate on how it can then fit in to the grander vision and how that might affect other parts of the charter. And we sustainably grow. So at a time, we grew way too fast during the Circle Church. We suddenly had 200 people, and that was not a good idea. So we've learned, we scale back, and we grow in waves. When we feel we're comfortable enough to be able to support the X number of people, 2 people, 10 people, 20 people, we gather those 10 or 20 people whenever we feel that we are ready. So, here is our nonprofit structure. It's real. It's not fake. This is real. I know that you can't read it. Don't worry. You're not expected to right now. After the presentation, we'll leave it up and you can go check it out. This has been months of work. Projected to roll out in spring 2026, so being our own 501c3. And this is what we envision it to look like. We have a board of trustees, we have a fiscal sponsor until we're a 501c3. And then there's the nonprofit directorship. So it's me and an administrative director. We have our staff, which we can go over later at another gathering. And then the thing that you're really here for is this side, the collective. If this were a cell, this would be the mitochondria, you know, the powerhouse of the cell. We've all heard that one. So the way this works is these are all the collective members. There's different ways that collective members are organized. Active collective members, collective facilitators are the people who have agreed to have a little bit more accountability to be co-chairs on our collective divisions. So each division is an interest, it's a skill set, it's a particular type of profession that the co-chairs have experience with, and they guide people in their committee on how those things work. They give workshops, they support, they provide advice and opportunities to the projects that are down here. So people in each one of these division committees will then kind of lay across these initiatives and provide advice and actual support and volunteers, and also provide guidance to the volunteers that just jump on those projects who might not be collective members. This is a lot of stuff. We can go over it more in depth later. We can talk about it if you're interested later. But there's one really important thing right here that is kind of defining in the entire structure, which is, yes, there is a directorship. I'm an executive director, but regardless of if it's me or if it's somebody else, this maintains our vision, which is that the director is here to support financially, to support with network, to support with operational opportunities, but I, or whoever it may be, does not have creative control over the collective. I, or whoever it may be, does not have control over the community. The collective decides what the collective does creatively. The collective decides who is in the collective. I only have a say in it as any other collective member. So, yeah, there we go. And we can go over this in a little bit, but I want to move on to some of our next stages. So we have some successes, roadblocks, and goals moving forward. So start with some successes. We're expanding. We're spreading our ethos and supporting our artists in various ways. We got our zine that's somewhere. It's right here. So this is a zine that we made that, like, there's black and white prints that are just free. We give out. Color prints are like $5-10. Our donation based, I'm not really sure. And then there's a really, really nice one that we print with our own printer, inkjet, custom made, homemade. That's like $40. So it's a way of spreading our art and our awareness of our artists, while also, if people have the means to and they want to have a little coffee table book, support us financially. We have an official merch division where we make merchandise like this, earrings like this, where we can spread the liminal space visual ethos and support the artists that create it, aka me, Sonia, and Rose. So we have the art gallery that is around you right now. So it's artist-centric. The artist takes 75% of the leftover 25%. The curator gets a cut of that. We sold four originals on Friday that for some reason are all in a perfect line, and that's just a coincidence. Wow. And that is multiple original artworks sold in one day in this non-standard gallery setting. So that's a huge success to me. Next, we're building. We're building the community. We have Creative Commons that we hold every second and fourth Monday, where we gather existing members who've been around for 3 years, new people off the street or through our newsletter. We're connecting with UCSC. We're work trade certified, so we have the opportunity to pay interns well, and the school will pay for 75% of it, so we can sustainably do that. We're also collaborating with UCSC departments, a bunch of departments, on providing class credit for students to engage in our projects and have it then reflect back on their curriculum. We're obviously still working with Idea Fab Labs. We're working with the Museum of Art History. We're still working with the Museum of Natural History. We're working with Swell Cycle, Patricio, Precious Plastics to do this awesome recycled art program. We're working with Santa Cruz Pride. We're continuing our relationship with Visual Endeavors over on the west side. Amazing visual artist. We're working on some opportunities with the city of Santa Cruz with some potential options for public art. We're collaborating with the Candlelight Club, which is this awesome aligned organization that's local to Santa Cruz. And honestly, so many others that it was like a huge list that we just had to cut it out because you don't want to hear all of them. But if you're not on this list and you are a collaborator, you're probably on that other list. Next is sponsorship. So we have been adopted by the 418 Project. We transitioned our relationship with the Children of Our Future, our previous sponsor, to their alumni network, which is awesome. And now we are with an amazing organization that's literally right down the street, like you can see them over there. They do amazing interactive art programming, and we're collaborating on a New Year's Eve immersive event with them. So next we got recognition. We were recognized by the Community Foundation for the impact that we're having in the Santa Cruz community, and we're currently collaborating with them on some really awesome things. We garnered support of Congressman Jimmy Panetta, which was crazy, and his whole office. So he pledged to support our federal grants and creative space initiatives. Super cool. And then we are extending. So we're extending our reach to the youth with care. We want to be as careful as possible with how we engage with youth. We have a number of youth teachers of the youth in our collective. And they're building connections with local schools like Mount Madonna and Chartwell schools and other schools around the Santa Cruz area. We're in the really early stages of building a creative expression program that we've been talking about, and like a young sustainability creative entrepreneur program. So, roadblocks. We all know them. Supplies. Supplies are expensive. Tools are expensive. Food is expensive. You know, you probably heard the trope of the starving artist. Liminal Space is not starving, but for the last 3 years, we've been doing some really amazing stuff on food stamps. So next is staffing. Currently, all of our staff are volunteers. One of our goals is to build a differentiation between our staff and our volunteers. Next is space. It's the obvious one. Santa Cruz is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world, and that's why a lot of us are here. And for artists, boy, is it expensive. Art space, gallery space, business space, the rent is astronomical, and housing rent is astronomical, and we all have to live, so everything is just expensive. And that brings us kind of to the curse. There's an ever-growing disconnect in Santa Cruz between the creative culture and the economy. We all know about it. It's something that a lot of creatives in Santa Cruz call the curse of Santa Cruz. It's so expensive, there's not many places to make art, there's few economic opportunities, so the creatives are leaving. You know, like, they're going to Oakland or whatever, or Santa Fe, or wherever there's opportunities that Santa Cruz doesn't have to be creative. And we as a circle need to bridge that gap. We need to build a platform to lift that curse. You know, it's a catch-22. If we don't have the space to be, we won't be able to have the stability or the programming or the opportunities to become financially sustainable and pay our staff and pay for our space and achieve our goals. So, yes, question.
I don't want to downplay that curse because that's very real, but I thought the curse you were going to mention was that you named your collective liminal space. And so having a permanent space is something that like you may never be able to fully spiritually achieve.
So I disagree with Jordan. Moving on. So, goals. Short-term goals. Short-term, we have Liminal. It's our space of what our friends call multimedia medicine. It's a place to facilitate human connection, have a guided, authentic dialogue, and provide a space of healing. We have Interdependence, which is an amazing project that's been in the works for a long time. That's led by a number of collective members. I think it started by Tiffany, Taylor, and Jane, and now it's like 6 people. I'm part of it. There's a bunch of people who are gathering and volunteering, and it's really awesome. The point is we're intervening at the emotional level to change perspectives and outlooks on our future and on our environment through novel experiential science communication. like, where does the trash go? What does that really look like? What does it feel like? Where could it go? Where do you think it could go? And you know, wow, isn't that a really beautiful expression of what is and what could be? Oh, tricked ya, it's actually made of the trash that we picked up off the beach. So how does that make you feel? What does that make you want to do? So next we have bridges, which is gathering a whole array of our existing projects and our collaborators and culminating in this amazing, multifaceted project that is about how we connect to each other, how we connect to each other physically, how we connect to each other emotionally, how we connect our thoughts, how our brain connects its own thoughts, how our communities connect, how our systems connect, everything. And we're hoping to bring it to the Museum of Art History first, and then install it in a more permanent location and continue building it. We have a web shop with our merchandise so that we can expand our liminal space visual ethos to the community and continue supporting our artists to create the merchandise. We want to continue this art gallery and bring it wherever we go, kind of a renegade art gallery experience. We're hoping to do public art with the City of Santa Cruz, and we're hoping to find a more permanent space. So, a more permanent liminal space. Our long-term goals, we hope to build a creative bridge between organizations, between artists, spaces, and people, like we're doing right now, and like we have with all of our projects and events that we've done in the past. We hope to bring art everywhere, to community spaces, to public spaces, to nature. We hope to be a source of vetted and accountable, passion-oriented talent recruiting, like Chloe with the Museum of Natural History, and continue doing multidisciplinary creative art projects and workshops, continue and dig deeper into doing collaborative art events, build a really playful, all ages, interactive art space that is made by all the artists that are in this room and in this city, and to build an avenue for sustainably free programming. There needs to be something that you can do in Santa Cruz with just $10 in your pocket. You should be able to donate what you can. You know, you should be able to find a free art space, free music events. If you can't, what can you do? You gotta get a big job or something. You can't authentically interact with our community. We need to be able to do things that are cheap. When things are cheap, it creates a creative scene, and when the creative scene is happy, the world you live in is vibrant. So, last is our fiscal goal. So, we're on route to fiscal independence. Like I showed you, we're quickly approaching our goal of being our own 501c3. Each event like this is a huge step in that project or process. 418 Project is known as a 501c3 incubator, which is why we chose them, among other things. And this is only the second development event that we've ever done. We already have 4 major pledges. So speaking of financial pledges, I'd like to introduce our development chair, who's been instrumental in collaborating and spearheading an institutional advancement, which is Ross Johnston.
Awesome, thank you so much. Now, before we move on, I want to give Weston a giant round of applause, so please join me. Because amazing nonprofits, just like we are, would not be where we are without amazing leadership like Weston. So, we are so lucky to be part of this volunteer corps. Now, I really want to lean into that because one of the fascinating parts about liminal space is the fact we are all volunteers. We have other jobs. I mean, just look at Taylor, right? That there are so many things going on in all of our worlds, and we still carve out time in order to give back to Weston's dream and provide community beautification through community-based art. Now, my job as the development chair is to crunch the numbers. So I have a few numbers that I really want to share with you that are just really impactful. So considering that the board itself and the director circle here in Liminal Space is only a handful of people, we have 50 people on average attending these Creative Commons. From there, we have over 100 people in our volunteer database, We have over 100 folks that show up after their jobs to help us make programs and community art projects viable. Now, looking at the impact that has on the community, as we work with the Community Foundation, we had to crunch these numbers. And just looking at last year's community art programming alone, the estimated community impact was over 11,000 people that Liminal Space touched, either through art education programming, community events, or these larger multidisciplinary gatherings. Now, the really impactful part about this at this event, but we're asking about your networks. Weston taught me this really fascinating way of thinking about Santa Cruz. I'm new to the area. I know that the fungus fair is a huge thing, so that the community connections are the mycelium network, right? Well, I also really like that ethos tree. So we want to ask you to tap those roots, right? We want you to go out to your community and think of people that are in alignment with what Liminal Space is doing for the community. If you know someone who knows someone who knows someone, please just keep us in the back of your mind, because we have you in the foreground of our mind with every community art project that we are giving back, whether that's educational for the kiddos, all the way up to these amazing mural projects as well. So the last thing I want to do is I really want to turn it over to my boss, Weston, because he's about to ask some questions to help recruit more bosses for himself.
So thank you, Ross. Round of applause for Ross. He is most definitely the employee of the month, right there. Frame a picture of him and put it right there. So, yes, the bosses, exactly. So, as we grow and expand, as we build out our nonprofit organization, we are looking to build out a proto board, an advisory board. So, you know, something that I really miss about working in tech and startups is somebody telling me what to do. So if you want to see my face more often, I'd love to grab coffee and chat about how your experiences and your skills could fit into the organization. And you know, whether you want to be on a board or not, let's keep collaborating. This gathering is the first of many. We will have a lot of events like these and host your programs too, host the things that you want to say. And I think by the next time that we meet, there's already going to be a number of really awesome collaborations in the works. You know, Liminal Space is not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. And whatever support, whatever resource, whatever skill, whatever network that you have will catalyze this vision. When it comes down to it, we are all catalysts. We are all activists. We're all creatives. We're all change makers. And we are all the future. And the biggest step is showing up. And we all showed up. So now is the fun one, which is making it happen. So we have a long road ahead of us. It's not going to be easy. It never will be easy. Nothing is ever easy. But we'll walk this path no matter what. And we have to. And the more of you, all of you in this room that are walking this path alongside us, the more possible the road will become, the more real it becomes, and the more beautiful our shared future will be. So, thank you for coming. We'll send a recap email, action items to continue this collaboration we started today. If you're not already on our email list, we have an email list sign up right over there. We're gathering. So. If you have to go, feel free to leave, but we do have a little collaborative mixer.
Yeah.
You want to explain it?
Yeah, if you don't mind. So, thanks, Curtis. So, if you haven't gotten a card from me, please come get a card from me. Then, what we'll be doing is at the beginning, and we might interrupt you later and change it, we'll see, depending on how things go. But at the beginning, what I'd love for you all to do is look at your card, look at the number, and